They said the knocking couldn't have come from inside the walls. But that night, as thunder clawed at the windows and the empty house pulsed with cold, I stood before the sealed pantry, the one they tore apart and bricked over after the incident. I was alone, and yet not alone. There it was again. 3 precise knocks, 2 measured, 2 heavy. Then a slow, guttural dragging sound, as if something fingernail-thick and determined was scratching its way out from behind the plaster. My breath fogged in the air, the lights flickered, and the old floor pulsed beneath my boots as if it were breathing. I pressed my ear to the wall. A whisper, not quite words, but a delicate venom, threading directly into my heart. It knew my name, and it wanted me to remember what I'd brought home. My name is Nathan Hale. I landed in Fayette Field after 18 months buried off-grid, a ghost mission, a terminal nightmare, stitched into layers of security clearance so deep I sometimes doubted I was real. The military flew me home, but nothing felt like home. My mind carried its own warfare, phantom scars, lost comrades, whispers that surfaced only in dark, humid rooms. But all I craved was to see her, just one familiar face, one anchor in a storm. Fayette Field seemed unchanged. Houses slept under willows, rain glossed the lawns, and my boots pressed a trail to what I'd clung to for years. But the moment the taxi stopped at 301 Willow Hollow, my world lost gravity. The porch sagged under a mold-darkened awning. The windows all dark, as if eyes closed out of shame. My keys didn't fit. First I blamed my memory. Then I tried to force the door. The cold handle stung my palm. I called her. Cassie. No answer. Then, creaking across sodden grass, Mrs. Wells, from next door, her white knuckles clutching a cheap robe. Nathan, you shouldn't be here. Where's my wife? Why's the lock changed? Her shiver wasn't from the cold. She left. 3 weeks, maybe more. Sold the place. I heard water dripping somewhere inside the empty walls. Or my own head. She can't sell this. It's ours. A wet cough. She said you signed off. Men with trucks. Everything gone. She's long gone. The world tilted, every memory fractured. But it was the silence after she walked away, the oppressive hush pressing against the door, that was the first warning. A single, echoing knock came from inside the house. Deliberate, mocking, and then another. I stepped back, lost my footing, heart racing, because there should have been no one left inside. Are you certain there's no one left once you're gone? The house you return to, stripped of every comfort, might recognize you, but not as its owner, only as a trespasser. And when silence answers your desperate calls, what else is listening from the walls? I wandered the yard like a trespasser in my own life. Night fell quickly, the house hunched deeper into shadow. I called Cassie's number. No answer, only static, then a faint, almost playful giggle, before the line went dead. I dialed again. This time, a single breath pressed through. You have nothing left. The call stung more than war wounds. The next hours passed in a haze. Rain fell harder. I circled my house, her house. One window still cracked. I climbed through the mud, forcing the sash open, breathing in darkness and rot. Inside, the hollowness pressed in. Every stick of furniture, every photo, erased. But something else remained, a stench, thick and metallic, like wet iron and bruised leaves. The echo was wrong, sounds bounced too eagerly, suggesting margins, gaps, voids within the walls. Where my boots stepped, puddles seemed to quiver. A soft scraping came from the kitchen. I froze. The pantry door, slightly ajar, beckoned like a wounded mouth. I pressed my hand to it, feeling a strange chill. A quiet humming, no melody. Just a sick vibration rose from beneath the floorboards. In the dark, a flashlight flickered, then snuffed itself. My own breath fogged. I crouched, heart fizzing with remembered training. Suddenly, thud, 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 3 knocks. But not from the door. From the pantry wall. I stumbled back, hands shaking. I'd spent missions in bunkers, in burnt-out cities, but nothing ever felt like this. An empty house, grinning, as if it had planned my return. I called Cassie again. This time, her voice was distorted. Aren't you hungry? She whispered. It feeds now. And it's so alone. I dropped the phone. It shattered on the tile. Outside, headlights split the rain. My old neighbor, Mr. Garvey. He called out, voice oddly twisted. Ain't nothing left for you here. But in his hand, he held my wedding photo, edges singed as if pulled from fire. And behind him, lit for an instant by lightning, A face stared from the kitchen window, pale, impossibly thin, eyes black and endless. What if loss is more than memory? When the walls remember your name, and the voices speak in riddles, how far can you trust your own mind? You think you're alone in an empty house, but something is already inside, waiting with your past, your secrets, your face. The days blurred. I slept in my old truck, but every night shadows shifted beneath the willow trees. The house grew bolder, lights flickered at random, guttural whimpers leaked from the shuttered windows. I watched, from the curb, as silhouettes moved inside, too tall, shoulders too sharp, folded wrong where joints should bend. I returned by daylight, summoned by dread. Inside, the air was heavier, layered with scents of mildew and panic, as if the house had been holding its breath since I left. I found a stack of letters no one should have seen, classified, meant for my eyes only, burned and water-stained, scattered across the living room. How had Cassie gotten them? I searched for my hidden vault in the pantry, the custom wall panel I'd installed myself, meant to guard missions, men, secrets no civilian should ever see. The panel was smeared with fresh fingerprints. Not mine. And beneath it, a shape pressed outward, distorting the wood. Suddenly, the phone rang. My own number flashed. A male voice answered my voice. Mocking, drained, desperate. Still looking? There's nothing left. Not even you. Static bled into urgent whispers. I screamed and threw the phone. It shattered. That night, a nightmare gripped me. Cassie in the courtroom, eyes hollow, mouthing something wordless, while a spectral judge pounded her gavel, a sound like shattering bone. But the worst part wasn't Cassie or the judge. It was the audience, a crowd of faces I recognized, soldiers I'd lost, family I'd abandoned, all stitched together and staring, bleeding from their eyes. They pointed at me, mouths split too wide, repeating, "You brought it here. You can't leave now." I woke to the ceiling, leaking amber fluid dripping onto my chest, a foul taste flooding the room. The pantry door was open. I could see deep gouges in the floor leading inside. I tried to flee, but every exit walled off behind me, windows bricked, doors jammed. The house sealed itself, throttling the light. A whisper, soft as breath but cold as death. "Nathan, let me in. You're all that's left." What lies beyond the pantry wall? When reality fractures, is escape even possible? The thing inside knows every secret, every sin, and if it breaks free, you may never know what part of you deserved it most. Time split. Either it was midnight, or time was meaningless here. Every clock blinked the same witching hour. The house throbbed, heartbeat in the pipes, breath in the vents. I heard voices overlapping. Cassie's, my commanding officers, my own as a child. But at their center, a single scraping hunger. I staggered to the pantry, clutching a crowbar I'd found in the shed. "Show yourself," I roared, my voice swallowed by the dark. The walls seemed to ripple, planks pressing outward like ribs shifting in a corpse. A hand, thin, gray, with too many joints pushed through between the wood panels, nails bloodied. I struck at it. The crowbar passed through air. The room reeked of decay, like meat rotting in heat. The pantry door burst open. Inside, nothing but a void, an impossible darkness. On the far wall, a crude drawing, scratched deep. My face, crossed out. A trail of hair, teeth, and fingernail splinters led deeper, as if something had crawled in or out. A voice hissed behind me. "You made a promise, Nathan, but you never came home." I turned. Cassie stood there, but her skin writhed, eyes entirely black, mouth stretching open, inhuman. She wept black tears, blood, ink, venom. Behind her, the house shifted, walls closing, shadows growing teeth. She thrust an old, brown envelope into my hand, federal symbol half melted, slick between my fingers. "They left you a gift, now it's yours alone." The kitchen lights blew, plunging me into darkness. A hand clamped onto my wrist, burning, suffocating. I fell, the floor giving way, tumbling through blackness that tasted of iron and memory. Wind howled, screams circled above. But as I hit bottom, bruised, shivering, clutching that cursed envelope, one thing became clear. The real horror had only just begun. Once you tumble into the darkness, there's no guarantee of return. The house hungers for one final answer. Is something haunting you? Or have you become the haunting? I lay in the cold foundation, earth pressing from below, whispers slicing through the walls, the envelope clutched like a forgotten relic. I opened it inside. Only a single photograph. Me, standing at this very house. Except, in the photo, I was alone. No Cassie, no neighbors, no furniture, just rot and shadow swallowing the porch. The earth pulsed around me. Fingers, bones, faces pressed outward from behind the plaster. All the lost, my team, my hope, the woman I loved, a tapestry of memory and regret. A final voice, unervingly tender, spoke from the enveloping dark. You never came back, Nathan. The war followed you here, and now you belong to us. The house inhaled, beams creaking as the foundation threatened collapse. I tried to scream. Only dust spilled out. Images flashed, demolition crews tearing the home down. But the workers' faces, they were my own, multiplied, eyes empty, grinning wide. Whenever they bashed through a wall, more void spilled out, endless, hungry, eternal. I understood then. Cassie hadn't left, I had. On some level, I never made it back. My pain, my secrets, all sealed within these walls. Outside, to any passerby, the house was just an abandoned, silent shell. But inside, within the rotted walls and cursed beams, my story repeated, night after night. And if you ever pass a house that looks just a little too empty, with a front door that seems to watch you as you walk by, listen for the knocking. It's never really empty. It's just waiting for you to come home. What we lock away does not die. It learns how to wait behind the walls we build, and one day, it will knock for us, too.